You don't lose control when you stop using a grid. You lose control when you realize a little too late that you never needed one in the first place. Picture it. You step forward, shield comes up, and suddenly something is already inside your reach, not 10 feet away, not one square over, right there. You don't know how it got there. That's the moment people are afraid of. That's the moment they hear theater of the mind and think this is going to turn into chaos. They're wrong. The real problem isn't chaos, it's timing. Because when you run combat without a grid, you're not tracking position with squares anymore. You're tracking pressure. Who's closing in? Who's holding ground? Who just stepped too far? Who's about to get surrounded? And if you don't stay on top of that, the whole fight starts to feel slippery. Enemies are suddenly too close. Players aren't sure what they can reach. The room feels like it's collapsing all at once. That's where tables start to panic. But here's the truth: grid combat gives you certainty of position, theater of the mind gives you control of the situation. Those are not the same thing. On a grid, you measure distance. Without one, you measure threat. Once that clicks, the rest starts to fall into place. So here's a simple way to run it. 3 calls. That's it. First call. Where is everyone? Not in feet, not in squares, in relationship. And that's the shift. You're not tracking exact measurement. You're tracking who's in close, who's near, and who's far. Close means you're in it, melee range, grappling range, immediate danger. Near means you're one move away. You can get there quickly, but you're not already on top of it. Far means it takes more time, more effort, or more exposure to get there. That's your battlefield. Close, near, far. That's enough structure to make rulings without dragging the table into exact geometry every round. If you need one more layer, use landmarks. Doorway, table, altar, stairs, cart, pit, torch, statue, fountain. So instead of saying the goblins are 30 feet away, say 2 goblins are close, right in front of the doorway. 2 more are near, back by the idol with short bows. That paints the room. Now the players have something solid to work with. Certain call. What are they trying to do? Not, I move 25 feet and use my action. That's movement based budget language. Instead, you want intent. I rush the goblin before he can fire. I hold the doorway so they can't swarm us. I circle left, try to get behind the one with the spear. I fall back towards the stairs and make them come to us. That's where tactics live. Not in counting squares, and decisions, and priorities, and pressure. When players say what they're actually trying to do, you can adjudicate what matters instead of pretending exact measurements solves everything. Because a lot of the time, exact measurement gives the illusion of certainty. It doesn't always give better play. What's your third call? Well, what makes it hard? This is where it lives or dies because you ask what's in the way, what risk is involved, what would stop this from being easy. All right? Enemies in the way? Narrow ground, slippery stones, a line of spears. Ouch. Um, Friendly bodies blocking movement, darkness, panic. Once you see the friction, the ruling usually comes fast. Yes, they can do it. Yes, but there's a cost. No, not from where they are right now. That's it. You don't need a subsystem every time somebody wants to move past an enemy or hold a corner. You need a clear picture and a fair call. And this is where tactics really come back because now the players are not asking, do I have enough movement? They're asking, can I get there before they stop me? Can I hold the spot? If I rush the archers, what does that open up behind me? That's tactical thinking. I'll give you the first example. You've got 3 adventurers and 4 goblins in a tight dungeon room. 2 goblins are close. They're already in melee. 2 more are near. They're hanging back with bows. And the fighter says, I push forward and try to lock down the archers. Well, you look at it. They're near, so yes, he can reach them. But if he's trying to break through 2 goblins ready in his face, well, there's a problem. So the simple ruling is he can get there, but he's taking attacks, getting past them. No grid, no measuring, still tactical. See, now the player has an actual decision to make. Do I force it and eat the risk? Do I stay put and let the archers keep firing? Do I wait for someone to open a gap? That's a real choice. Now, another example, because this is where a lot of the 5e players start to actually get it. The party's in a corridor. It's narrow, 2 abreast at most. They hear movement ahead, and skeletons start pressing in from the dark. The fighter says, I hold the line in the doorway. That's exactly what you want to hear. He's not asking for a square count. He's making a tactical claim. He wants to use the terrain to limit how many enemies can engage. So your ruling might be, yes, you can hold that space, and only 1 or 2 skeletons can come at you directly at a time. Now the cleric can stand near, just behind him. The magic user stays back, out of immediate danger. That's positioning. That's formation. That's tactics. And none of it needed a battle map. Now, this is usually the point where it clicks. The grid was never the tactics. It's just a measuring tool. Because this is where theater of the mind either works or it falls apart. If you try to run it like a grid without a grid, it gets muddy fast. Old school tactics are less about exact angles and more about frontage, choke points, retreats, lines of fire, and whether the party did something smart before the dice even hit the table. And that matters. That matters a lot. And this is also where 5e habits can get in the way. If you learn combat through a grid, it's easy to think tactics means exact placement. It doesn't. At least not in old school play. In OSR combat, tactics usually starts earlier. Who brought the 10-foot pole? Who listened at the door? Who has the lantern? Who went first? Who watched the rear? Who thought to spike the door, block the stairs, dump oil, or just pull back and start charging in? The fight isn't just a round by round exchange, it's the setup. That's one of the biggest shifts from 5e to old school play. You're not trying to squeeze maximum value out of a build. You're trying to survive a bad situation with good judgment. And once players get that, their questions change. They stop asking for exact squares and start looking for leverage. And that's a different kind of tactics, but it's still tactics. And this next part matters because bad theater of the mind is sadly very real. Most of the time, it's not the idea that fails, it's the execution. Now, there are a few places where it can go wrong, and when people say they hate it, this is usually what they mean. One, the ref keeps changing the picture. If the orcs were near a moment ago, they shouldn't suddenly be far unless something changed. You need consistency. Players don't need a grid, but they do need a stable space. 2, nobody restates the battlefield. If a few rounds go by and nobody refreshes the situation, people lose the picture. And that's where it starts to feel muddy. The fix is simple. At the top of the round, or whenever things shift, do a quick reset. 2 are close with the fighter, 1 is near the stairs, the shaman is far back by the altar. Takes a few seconds, keeps everyone locked in. Third, players get punished for not reading your mind. That kills trust fast. That's dangerous. If the picture wasn't clear, fix the picture. Don't spring gotchas. Clarity first, then consequences. That's how you keep it fair. And fairness matters more here than precision. Because if the players trust your calls, they'll lean into it. If they think things shift based on your mood, they'll fight the whole process. So here's the table rule. Every round, do this. Where is everyone? What are you trying to do? What makes it hard? That's your basic engine. And again, if you want one more layer, add this when it matters. What are you giving up to do that? That's where a lot of great rulings come from. Yes, you can sprint past the front line, but you leave the magic user exposed. Yes, you can fall back safely, but you give up the doorway. Yes, you can climb the rubble to reach the cultist, but not before the next spell goes off. That's pressure. And you get it without turning the game into bookkeeping. Oh, one last thing. Theater of the mind works best when everyone at the table speaks in intent and landmarks, not rule text. Not, can I move 30 feet and still attack? Instead, can I get to the archer before he fires? Can I hold him here? Can I get behind the overturned table? Can I pull him out of combat? Once players start talking that way, everything speeds up and it feels more alive. Because now it sounds like people trying to survive a fight, not players working a board. And that's the payoff. The moment we started with where something is suddenly too close, that's not chaos. That's pressure. That's the fight breathing. You don't lose tactics without a grid. You lose false precision. And in return, you get speed, pressure, flexibility, and a style of play where smart decisions matter more than square counting. And that's a trade-off I'll take every time. Thank you to the Tavern's Minions for supporting this channel. And if you're getting value out of this, please join the Tavern's community, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, and God bless.